Now we spent a little time talking about the spindle of the machine, and this spindle is actually a 4-speed spindle. It's 1600, 3500, 6000 and 8000 RPM for this spindle. But one of the really standout features of this spindle assembly is that it is an interchangeable spindle. And what that means is that this entire spindle pops out of the machine, and you can actually leave the tooling right on the spindle and leave all of your spacers prefixed in their set spots so that you can go back in and drop it into the machine and go back to work and simply drop in another spindle with your tooling already on there. You can also change sizes of spindles. Now the machine comes supplied with an 1¼ inch spindle, and you can get more 1¼ inch spindles, or you can purchase a 3/4 inch spindle. And this is what the interchangeable spindle looks like, and you can see that it has a nice long heavy taper on the inside, and this is held into the machine with this very heavy duty castellated nut right here, and this simply secures the entire spindle in the machine. This is a replacement 1¼ inch spindle, and again you can have this already preloaded with your tooling on here. And this is one of the 3/4 inch spindles that's available for this machine as well. So you have quite a few different choices of the spindles for the machine. Now of course it's an interchangeable spindle, it's a tilting spindle, but it's also a reversing spindle. And to reverse it, we simply come right up here to the control panel and have a look at the mechanism right here. This is the switch right here that allows you to reverse the spindle. And you might have a particular tool on there that requires that you flip it upside down, and when you do that you'll need to reverse the rotation, and you simply do that by flipping this switch right here. This is the neutral position and forward and reverse for the spindle. You also have your speed indicator lights right here, and this shows you that it is a 4-speed spindle. 1400, 3500, 6000 and 8000 RPMs are the speed range of the spindle. Now we've got the back cover of this machine removed, and you can really see the internal workings. You can have a look here at the ball door motor, and again this is a 5 horsepower cast iron framed industrial ball door motor. Plenty of power for this shaper. And we'll swing around, we'll have a look here at the other portion of the electronics, and you're going to see this GE mini drive right here. And this again is a frequency drive that provides a clean power supply here for your ball door motor. And those work in unison so that you can use this machine on single phase power or 3-phase power. Now it is 220 volts, and it'll allow you to run on either type of power supply, either single phase or 3-phase power. On the inside of the machine you're going to see, first of all of the components on the inside are very, very heavy duty. Solid steel, cast iron, and plenty of it on the inside. You're going to notice that all the brackets are nice welded steel on the inside. Now we talked about doing a belt change, and doing a belt change has never been easier. You simply loosen the handle right here, pull back on this to loosen the belt, change the belt to the appropriate location, slide this back to put tension on, and lock the handle down, and your belt change is done. Now when you've done your belt change, one of the things that you'll notice is that the belt is going to raise and lower on the inside of the machine, and this little handle right here allows you to go through and position this little gateway fence to select the speed on the inside, and this will correspond to the lights that are on the outside of the machine and let you know what the speed range for the machine is. Now for convenience and for ease of operations, and particularly if you're doing tooling changes, there's a spindle lock that's built into the machine. We simply pull out on the knurled knob, give it a twist, drop it in position, and then when we spin the spindle it'll lock into position and allow us to do a tool change very, very easily. Now we talked about the spindle, but the power behind that spindle is driven by this right here, and this is a heavy duty ball door industrial motor. This is a 5 horsepower cast iron frame motor, and this is what drives the spindle. This provides plenty of reliable power for the entire lifetime of your shaper. Now you can see that the T1002 is a really capable shaper, and it's designed to be a very, very flexible shaper and allow you the maximum range of possibilities. From everything from the sliding table to the tilting spindle, reversible spindle, really make this a unique tool and a very, very flexible shaper. Now there's some other features that are available as optional accessories, and these allow you to extend that capability even more. We talked about running large diameter cutters on this one, and one of the ways that you would do that is to do tenoning cutting. And when you do tenoning cutting, you want to get away from the standard fence a little bit and go to what we call a tenoning table. And this is a cast iron tenoning table. It's designed to telescope into and out of the spindle and allow you to have full support all the way to the edge of the cutter for doing heavy duty tenon work. When you do this, you want to get rid of the standard fence assembly and install what they call a tenoning hood. And this allows you to go through and telescope in and out, and also to expose more or less of the cutter head. Now let's go ahead and install these on the machine and have a look at how they work. Now we've got the tenoning hood and tenoning table installed on the T1002 shaper, and you'll see that the setup is quite drastically different. We've removed a fence assembly, and when you're doing full depth tenoning, you really expose a lot of cutter head, and you want to make sure first of all you've got good adequate dust collection. So there's a nice large diameter port here on the back, and you'll see that the hood surrounds the cutter head. You also expose a lot of the cutter head, so you'll see that there's a lot of wooden devices, and these yellow pieces are wooden baffles just in case you were to strike them against the cutter head. You're not going to damage the machine or your cutter head. Now in order to set this up, basically you're going to go ahead and lift on the handle here and set the height to expose as much cutter as you want and lock these in place. This will also telescope in and out to allow you to go through and set the relative position of the entire hood assembly, and also the top of the hood can be pulled over to cover the top of the cutter head so that you expose just as little cutter head as possible and remain safe. Now we've stepped around to the front of the shaper, and you can see that we've got this nice heavy cast iron tenoning table on the machine, and this is a great option if you're doing any type of tenoning work on the machine at all. It's a very heavy duty cast iron tenoning table. It comes supplied with a heavy cast iron miter gauge and another hold down clamp. This gives you the maximum flexibility of your machine, and I've seen some users position this at the far end of the table and have the stock fence at the near end of the table so they can have two setups on the shaper at one time. Now the tenoning fence has got a little lock right here. It features a telescoping tenoning fence right here, and it has two spring stops that come with the machine. And when you're doing tenoning, sometimes you're going to do it exactly here at 90 degrees, but there's going to be other times that you're going to go through and do it on a tilt or on a miter cut. You simply loosen the handle here, and you can tilt this, use the miter gauge on the back side here to position this for a mitered tenon. We're going to go back and set this up at 90 degrees, and I'm going to show you how this telescopes in and out. Now these wooden safety guards can be positioned any place along the fence. There's a couple of locations, and they can be slid back and forth to expose as much or as little of the workpiece as possible here. And this table can be mounted up and down the length of the slider. Now when you're doing tenoning, one of the things you want to be able to do is to slide this cast iron plate in toward the cutter head and have as much support for your workpiece as you can, just as close to the cutter head. And to do that, you'll see this long slot on the machine. There's also a second gib on the bottom here that allows us to telescope in and out at exactly 90 degrees. The other thing is it has nylon runners on the bottom, so it slides back and forth very smoothly. So we'll just go ahead and push this right into the cutter head. This will be locked down right here, and you're ready to go. Now we've got this piece of stock mounted up in the machine here. This is kind of mocked up so you can see just how the setup would be if you're doing full depth tenoning here. And you'll see that this protrudes right into the cutter head right here, and you've got plenty of support for your workpiece coming right up to the edge of the table. This allows you to run the tenoning cutter up and above the table. You've got the proper gap, but you've also got the proper protection for your workpiece. And you'll see it slide right through this machine quite easily here. I've got the handle position in the back, and this is typically how I'm going to set it up to go through and run this type of cut. Now with all the features that you have on this machine and all the options that are available for it as well, you'll see that this is one of my favorite machines here. And when I choose to use a shaper in our shop here, this is typically the one I'll go with. Now if you have any questions at all about our T1002 shaper or about any of our products, you can give us a phone call directly here at toll-free 800-234-1976, or look us up on the web at www.lagunatools.com. Well, thank you for having a look at our shapers, and you can see we have quite a wide variety of shapers, and if we don't have just the one that you're looking at on the video, give us a call because we have many more models to choose from. Now if you have any questions on these two models, the two that we've already shown, or on our signature series, you can give us a call toll-free at 800-234-1976, or look us up on the web at www.lagunatools.com.